Welcome to the Metal Mixtape here on KSQ 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, 94.1 FM Medford, Oregon. Stream online on kskqdjramo.org. It's the boy, it's the Don, DJ Ramo. We have one of the greatest musicians to ever set the stage here at the Metal Mixtape in Southern Oregon. Tim, not only are you just a great musician, but you have one of the most beautiful fucking voices I've ever heard in my entire life, dude. Honestly, when I heard your voice, I was like, dude, you could throw him in any sort of genre and you would work. I was almost picturing you in a pop punk band even one time in my head. I was like, you got the voice of an angel, man. From Obliviscaris. Welcome to Tim Charles. How's it going, man?
Good, man. That was quite the intro. Thank you so much for the kind words. It's funny you say that about the vocals with the genre, because I don't sound really like a metal singer at all, and I definitely could do totally different things. I maybe would be more suited in some ways, but that's the cool thing with Obliviscaris, that we are able to bring in these different elements that come from these different places and make it work in kind of this metal context.
No, I absolutely agree, man. And for me, it's getting like the perfect balance of technical brutality mixed with like beautiful orchestrations behind your voice, man. And the thing is, it's like when you try to mix in a lot of different things, I feel like the harder the challenge is, to be able to get it all constructed and all together and all to vibe. And it seems, dude, like you guys just do such a great job at it. Like, did you wake up one morning and was like, all right, I got to create like the Avengers, and I got to grab like the best guitar players, the best drummers, the best bass player. I got to grab another vocalist that is just brutal on another fucking level. And then also you can have like that gauntlet of Stenos right on your hands, man. Before I get into a little bit of your history, but like, what was that plan? Just on very quick, like, how did that all happen? Because it just seems like I've been listening to your band like for a while now, and it's like, man, you're so blessed. You're really so blessed to have the musicians you have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it is like that. And so, when I'm writing music, from my perspective, it is like, all the colors that you have, like as an artist to paint with musically, are the musicians in the band. And you go, well, hey, I know I've got this guy who's amazing at this, and so if I create this, and then you don't even have to write stuff for people. Say, hey, if I do this great chord progression here, and then say, Benji, this is a great place for a solo, he's going to come up with something that's going to blow your mind, and you just leave that to him. And the same with every other member in the band that's able to contribute incredible things to the music. I mean, it was really something that has happened organically in the beginning, so like, Zen and I are kind of the two, founding members of the band. And we had an original lineup. And then from there, I think the standards and expectations of what we were trying to do in the band kept growing. And, we kind of, I guess, in a way, kind of outgrew some of the original members, or people just left of their own accord. And then whenever we had a chance to bring in a new member, it was always the intention to level up. It was like, okay, cool. Someone's left the band. That sucks, but this is an opportunity now to get the absolute best possible musician in. And every time we've had a membership change, that's always been the plan and intention. And as a result, like over the years, like the people that have been brought into the band, they're all incredible musicians. And I definitely am very blessed to be able to, just be one part of, such a great collective.
So one thing I want to know, man, it's like when at a young age did you get that spark where you could be a musician like this or play shows? Like were you inspired by your family? Were you trained as a child? And also, if you could, is this everything you expected it to be? If you were thinking as a kid now and being like, all right, I want to accomplish my dreams, and this is what I want to happen, is it everything you expected?
I think so. I started learning the violin at about 6.5. My mom played the piano, so there was kind of always music in the house.
Okay.
And she kind of gave me the option to kind of choose an instrument. And the violin was what I chose. Like no one else in the family played violin, so she wasn't even sure why I chose it. But there was that culture of music being a part of the family home. And as a teenager, I started getting really into metal, but I was also about 16, 17, I pretty much decided I wanted to be a professional violinist. And I didn't think you could be a metal violinist. I didn't know that existed, because it didn't really, like when I was a kid. Yeah, and the only stuff I'd heard at that time, I mean, I'm 40 now, so this is like late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, Apocalyptica was one of the only bands that I'd heard that had classical instruments, like actually in a metal context of like with distortion and things like that. And so, there wasn't a lot to aspire to. So when I looked at alternative violin, it was more listening to jazz and things like that, So that was the original thing. I got interested in improvising, playing jazz. But, I thought, hey, maybe I should learn to play guitar, sing, because I wanted to play in a band. And then it was kind of, I guess, just really nice that I ended up being able to combine all those loves. I loved writing music. I love playing the violin. I loved metal. And then in Obliviscaris, I get to combine them all. I mean, as far as like whether it's like what you expected, I guess, the thing that you don't understand when you're young is you think that every band touring the world is making a lot of money, and they don't. Like most bands are broke, bands that are playing like 1,000 people a night. Yeah, they're making money, but like a lot of the smaller bands that are touring, struggle, and it's pretty difficult. So I guess like that was a thing that the more that we went along, we realized, oh shit, like these bands that are bigger than us, they're not making any money either. Whereas when you're a kid, you just don't understand that side of things. But from a perspective of the enjoyment of touring and playing for people, yeah, I mean, it's all I ever hoped for, because the special nature of sharing a space with an audience at a live show, it is so great. And that's my favorite thing. Creating the records is great, and obviously that's something that lasts forever. But the live shows, like that's the fun bit. That's the bit that it's just incredibly fun for me, and what I love like more than anything else.
So you were talking about how like in the beginning, like the violin isn't necessarily like the go-to for a metal instrument. Were you nervous your first show like in a metal platform, like being like, all right, like I know people like Apocalyptica, but are they kind of like me? Are they kind of like what I'm putting out? Or were you just fully prepared and confident? You just knew that like you were gonna crush it. Were you nervous?
Both. So yeah, I mean, first show, definitely really nervous. I mean, I was a pretty confident young guy. And so it was more, I think like, when we played our first show, I was like 23, 24. And at that stage, I was a little bit more conscious of like, I thought I was good and I wanted to show it to people, you wanted to prove yourself. And so even with some of the parts, like I'd want to put in a really fast run so that I could show that I could shred like the guitarists, but on the violin. Because I'm like, hey, violinists can shred too. I was a bit more conscious of that sort of stuff when the band first started, of, I guess, wanting to prove my worth as a musician. And I guess that's the thing, like when you're a young guy, like, in the world, and you want to prove that you have a place that is valuable. Whereas the difference now, like I just turned 40 last year, and I don't really care what people think, what I mean? Like I know that I'm a good musician. I also know that I'm not the best ever. I'm not the worst ever, but I'm good at what I do, and I'm comfortable with what I'm good at. I'm not good at everything, but I know I'm good at some things. And I make music, leaning into the things that I feel are my strengths. And then I don't really care too much what people think about that, beyond that I hope people turn up to the shows, because it's way more fun when people turn up. But it's just that different mentality, I think, as you get older, of being more, not feeling like you need other people to validate your worth, especially as a musician. And so I think that's been a nice stage to get to over time.
No, I love it, man. And, and I could just tell, man, you scream confidence. Do you ever pay attention to like any of the comments you get online on your new albums and everything? And do you ever use those to like, Well, I know almost every artist I've ever talked to. You know, they just write straight from the heart and everything. But do you ever dive into your own reviews or anything, or is that something you just don't pay attention to?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the funny thing is that a lot of people, put comments up on the internet, on YouTube or whatever, and they think that the bands aren't going to see them, but bands read the comments. You know what I mean? Like we want to, like if we put up a new music video and then like 24 hours later, like all the bands, they're all going to go see people like them. Like most, I shouldn't say all, like most, like there's going to be at least some members that are going to go to the comments and check to see what people are thinking about the stuff. I was actually sitting here, reading YouTube comments with my daughter. I got an 11-year-old daughter, and she's actually, features, she's playing violin in the Growl music video at the end of the video.
Okay.
So we're sitting reading YouTube comments, like me and my daughter, because she's in the video. So when it came out, she wanted to like see what people thought. And I thought, this is so cool that I can do this, because the YouTube comment section is not always a safe place, especially for a kid, you know what I mean? And you don't want to be necessarily reading negative stuff about, about the song or her dad or whatever. But the comments have all just been incredible. Like it's undoubtedly been the best received album that we've ever had. I think when it comes to like paying attention to it, I always try to have the attitude of, the top 10% and the bottom 10% of reviews and comments ignore, because like, when someone says maybe you're a genius or something like that, you don't want to listen to that, because maybe you'll become an egomaniac and you don't want that. But if you listen to the bottom 10%, I remember when Portal of I came out, there was literally a review. This is like going back many years.
Okay.
There was literally a review that said, this would be great if you just got rid of like the clean vocalist and the violins. Like it kind of ruins it for me. And so I'm like, man, this review literally says just get rid of Tim and it'd be a great record, And I'm like, well, you don't want to listen to that. Like that's just going to make you feel like shit. So, you just ignore that and you ignore the stuff on the top. And I just more pay attention to the vibe. And so the vibe on this album has been really incredible. A lot of people are saying that it's our best yet. And, that's all you can hope for.
Dude, that's so amazing, man. And I got two questions to ask you off of what you just explained. And what's so amazing, dude, is I have a 3-year-old son too, and I literally just got him to sleep so I could do this interview. I had to put him in his car seat and I had to drive around the block a couple times because that normally knocks him out, Yeah. But man, so tell me, man, as a father, what was going through your head seeing your daughter there, being a part of something you love and you grow up doing? Like man, that must have been like just like universally just like impacted your heart. Like how was that feeling, being like, oh my God, like there's someone I love more than myself doing what I love? Like what's that feeling as a father?
It was beautiful. It was December last year that we filmed the video for Growl, and it was quite a last minute thing involving her. I had this idea. It was kind of quite a late realization where I contacted Zen and said like, hey, what do you have in mind? Because like Zen directs the videos, and I'm like, what do you have in mind for the end? Because at the end of the song, there's a string section, which on the album is me, and then there's a violin solo part, and then a second violin solo part comes in, and there's also a vocal part that they're all me. Like you can't like flip between 4 different me's in the video. I mean, it looks stupid. So I'm like, and we had some other stuff going on, like we had the fire dancer, but I was like, oh, I really think we need to represent the strings, but not as me, so I can do like the lead solo part, but we need something else to represent the strings. And we were looking about, originally I had this idea of doing a group of kids, but the riff is in 7/4, and so the time is kind of awkward. And that's when after spending kind of 20-30 minutes working on it with my daughter Amelie, I realized that hey, like she can do it, but I don't think we have enough rehearsal time to organize a group. Let's see if we can build it around her. And Zen was really into the idea, and it was just a beautiful thing, you know. I mean, when Earn came out, she was only 5.
Wow.
And you know, now she just turned 11, you know, just a couple of weeks before, you know, this album came out. And it was because she was only 5 when Earn came out, you know, you don't really understand the real context of what your dad is doing in a band. Whereas now she does, you know, you know, she's like seen some concerts herself, like not of us, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, but you know, she understands a bit more, you know, she listens to some bands herself, and you know, there's that bigger context of what we're doing that she understands, which is a really beautiful thing to be able to share together.
Dude, oh, that's so beautiful, man. I hope someday I get to do that with my son. But I told my son he's not playing the guitar, he's not singing, he's gonna be a drummer or a bass player. And then he can choose whatever he wants after that, because we need more drummers and bass players, you know?
Hey, well, if you're a really good drummer and bass player, it's there's always a gig for you, you know, because there's not as many. So if you're awesome at those instruments, then you'll find a spot somewhere.
Dude, that's so awesome. And dude, your new album, Exile, which is so just badass on every level, which, you know, you're talking about like the fans and everybody's saying it's the best album yet and everything. But to me, like just listening to literally Curator and like older songs compared to like your newer songs and everything, it's like you guys are just so talented that what is the thought process of like, are you trying to top the other album or as specifically, or is it like when you guys write the album, is it like you have to be in the right headspace, or is it just something like, all right guys, let's get in the room, we know what we've done before, let's see what we can do a little different, what something else we could incorporate, but like how do you go about creating an album after you've done already so many massive orchestras?
Yeah, great question. So artistically, I'm always interested in continuing to explore. And so um, I really don't have any interest in trying to like recapture something that we've already done. Of course, there's things that you know that work because you've done them before. But, you know, with this record, you know, I was really keen to push into new areas and explore different sounds. And, you know, that was one of the things I was so excited, you know, when I wrote most of Misericord Part 2, because I'm like, hell yeah, this is feels like one of the best things that I've ever written. And it sounds like nothing else that we've done, but I think this can work as an Obliviscaris song. And it's just about that spirit of experimentation, I think. And so we're never trying to create anything in particular. We don't go into a record going, we want it to sound like this. We don't go, oh, hey, let's make this album a bit heavier or a bit more progressive. We don't have discussions like that, really. We just write, and we write for stuff that we like. And myself in particular, I'm really conscious of trying to experiment and make sure that, you know, we're not just doing the same thing. And so that was, I think, the thing that Exile did really well, of that, you know, combining elements of stuff that we know that we're good at with experimenting into new and different areas, which was a lot of fun. And you know, just a testament, I think, to the talent throughout the group, because, you know, it's only possible, you know, we are one of those bands. It's like, you know, when your powers combine is you know, a special thing, even more so than if you split us up individually.
No, dude, it's incredible, man. Like, my favorite song on this album has to be Misery Core 2 and uh, Autonomy of Quiescence. Is that how I pronounced it right? Did I
Yeah,
pronounce it right?
yeah,
All right.
Anatomy of
So the
Death.
thing is, yeah. So like, I think the songs I mean, I could just be biased, but the songs where like I feel you digging deep in your emotions with your vocals, like straight up has to be like some of my favorite songs that you do, man. Like, like when you're doing the violin and you're doing the vocals, are you making sure to like write both your parts for the song, where you want to make sure and orchestrate it right, or is that like just like two different practices that you just practice before each song? Like how do you go about that, being like, all right, I want to add violin here, I don't want to add too much violin, 'cause I want to add this much vocals. And do you ever fight yourself when you're trying to like add to your parts to the songs?
Yeah, sometimes. So it's all about balance and trying to take the listener on like a journey emotionally. And so
Yeah.
you're trying to have the person listening connect emotionally to the song at the beginning, and then keep them and then take them somewhere, you know. And like a lot of bands might take their you know, the audience on a journey across a record, and we do that, but we also, you know, take the listener on a journey within the one song as well. And we're able to do that because the songs are so bloody long. um and so like for that balance, I mean, Zen and I work very closely with where to put all of our parts, because really the his vocals, my vocals, and the violin, they kind of all intertwine. And then also the guitar solos as well. So the kind of those four bits, you know, we have to kind of work out where to put them. Sometimes we'll have ideas for the same section, and maybe we have to battle it out for, you know, which part is going to work best. But most of the time, it's pretty obvious, because it's like, you know, we don't need four guitar solos or four violin solos or whatever in the same song. It's, you know, going, okay, yep, this is the moment we can let that instrument shine. This is now a moment we can bring this instrument up. But sometimes it gets flipped around. Like I remember I think it was for Grau, you know, there's some bits where, and this happened before, where, you know, I was going to sing or play violin, and then after working on some stuff, I wasn't happy, and I was like, what if I tried the other way around? And so there's parts where I was playing violin, and I deleted the violin, and I tried vocal parts. Like, oh, hey, that works better. And what I really knew is that I wanted to put a melody there, and then it would be experimenting sometimes. Does it work better to put a violin melody or a vocal melody? And sometimes I would only know by experimenting. And I remember that happened when I was writing Eerie, like, you know, going back to an Earn song, where there was a significant section of that song that got flipped, where it used to be like, oh, you know, violin, violin, vocals, and then it got flipped and it was vocals, vocals, violin. And what I did where literally got flipped the other way around, just due to experimentation, and the initial idea I had got tossed out the window, because like, oh, actually, if I do it the complete opposite, it works even better. So definitely a bit of experimentation and just searching for that balance, I think.
No, I like it. That's a great way to explain it, man. And just because like when you know, I play in a band too, but I've never like, our songs maybe average 4 to 5 minutes. We only have like three instruments, and just seeing these massive structures that you guys are constantly building, like do you guys ever have to stop yourselves in a song and be like, all right, we've written enough, we have to write an ending, or does the ending just come naturally?
So I think the ending comes naturally, but the ending, my interpretation of the ending versus the other guys sometimes is different, because like Misericord 1, everyone was like, hey, cool, the song's done. And then I was like, but what if, you know, and then kind of 9 minutes got added on, you know, from that kind of, you know, one, like, what if, and then that just kept going. But for me, there's definitely a vibe of, you know, trying to go somewhere, and then when you feel like you've gone somewhere musically and emotionally, then you feel like you can rest again. And so that's the case. Like when you go off in a different direction, well, you got to see it through. And that was like with Misericord 2. Okay, we're going to send this song off in a completely different direction, with no idea how long it'll take. But this is the idea. And then to see what feels right. And okay, cool. It's violin solo, then it's clean guitar solo. Okay, now we'll go to distortion. Okay, now we'll go in a complete change of direction, and we'll have a build up with 400 strings and a big epic ending. And then you get to the end and you go, all right, and how long? Oh shit, that's been 9 minutes, you know? um, and then on top of a song that was already 7 minutes long. So it's like 16 and a half minute track all of a sudden. But it is just a natural thing, as a seeing the creative idea through, and just how long it takes is just how long it takes.
I love it, man. I love it. I don't want to take a whole lot more of your time, just in case you got more interviews today. But if somebody only had like, well, your songs are pretty long, 10 to 12, 15 minutes long. If they only had 12 minutes left on Earth, and they could listen to one of your songs off this new album, what is the one song you would send them to that would best describe Obliviscaris?
Well, I mean, I guess, I mean, you said 12 minutes, and that's how long Equas, the opening track, is. And so that would be a good summary of our sound, because it has a lot of different elements of what we do. That was why it was the lead single for this record, because it was like, hey, here's a song that does a lot of the stuff that we do in the one track. But having said that, if I'm thinking about the end of the world, if you could fit in another 4.5 minutes, I'd say just listen to Misericord 1 and 2 together, 16.5 minutes, because I think that would maybe fit the vibe a bit more of End of the World, because it's an all over the place sort of song. The second half of that one is really, really intense emotionally, and it might set the scene for the End of the World even better, I think.
I completely agree, man. That's the ones I would recommend too. All right, before I let you go, I'm going to throw you 3 super fast questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, in a zombie apocalypse, you can only have one weapon to destroy the zombie horde. It can't be the cure or a nuke. What is your one weapon?
I have no idea. Can I say I'm gonna give them a hug?
Okay, the hug. Hey, it might. They'd probably be all confused, you know, and then they bite your neck off.
Right. Yeah, maybe I'll try the Gandhi thing of, like, sit down and pray and hope they just disappear. Or maybe, can I just play dead? Actually, that would be better. And then just have them run away. Well, I don't know.
Okay.
It depends if they're smart or not.
Okay. Let's see if I'll give you this question. If you could choose your death, but it had to be by somebody in a horror movie, who would you choose to do it?
It has to be somebody in a horror movie. Oh man. Maybe. That's a good question. I mean, I think maybe Jason would be cool. Nice and dramatic. That'd be pretty metal as well. I think, like, I mean, a lot of metal, a lot of horror movies have, pretty metal vibes. So let's go with Jason.
That's awesome. In your whole career of like touring and playing music, who is one musician you looked up to that you met that you were really happy that they were super nice?
Devin Townsend.
Yeah.
We opened for Devin Townsend about maybe a decade ago. And I had met him at a signing session a few years earlier, right? And there's a photo of me at this signing session when I'm like in my 20s and whatever. And we just started as a band. And I remember saying to him at this signing session, like, hey, I play in a band and whatever. Like guys like him, he meets people that say I play in a band all the time. And he made a comment, and it would have just been off the cuff comment. He said, like, oh, you never know, maybe we'll get a chance to play together one day. And so then, like, a bunch of years later, we were opening up for him. And I remember saying, like, hey, I know that you won't remember me because you meet a million people, but like a few years ago, I met you at like a signing session and you made that comment, and here I am, and we're playing together. And he was just really cool and very chill, and just he's an unbelievable musician, one of my favorites for sure.
That is awesome. Tim, thank you so much for making time, dude. I loved hearing the story about your upbringing, how you grew up with your amazing family as musicians, incorporating your daughter in the music video in Grawl. But last but not least, can you say this is Tim Charles from Obliviscaris, and you are listening to The Metal Mixtape?
This is Tim Charles from Obliviscaris, and you are listening to The Metal Mixtape.
Yay, you have a great time on tour. Everybody check out their new album, Exile. Dude, you're a fantastic, awesome father. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you very much, man. We'll see all our US fans in October, November this year.